Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien. Lead! And Livingston have the lead! Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello and welcome to another new episode of Talk Livy, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Euan, and joining me this week is Angus. Bruni is obviously very busy, not having a job once again this week, so he's not able to join us. Angus, how you doing after the, safe to say, the heartbreak of that result yesterday?
Yeah, very, very tough to take. Real kick in the teeth. We'll get into it, but there's also some positives to take from it. But yeah, we'll get ready to dive into everything that happened over the weekend.
Now, you can listen to this episode and all our other episodes on your preferred podcast streaming site. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube, plus loads more. So just search Talk Livy, follow us and subscribe if you can so you won't miss another episode.
Coming up this week, we'll discuss what proved to be late heartbreak for the Lions as they fell to a last gasp defeat against the Dons.
And after a long 16 months without any competitive games, there was a return to league action for our women's team. We'll discuss how the Lionesses got on.
And finally, we'll look ahead to our last 16 League Cup tie as the Buddies visit West Lothian.
It was a return to league action on plastic as the Lions faced Stephen Glass's Dons. Safe to say it was a bitter pill to swallow as a late goalkeeping error meant Aberdeen went back to the northeast with all 3 points. Angus, we touched on it very briefly at the start, but you got over it yet?
Oh, absolutely not. It's an absolute sickener. Going into that game, obviously, we kind of previewed it last week. We weren't overly confident because, Aberdeen has been on kind of a good run of form. They seem to be playing some decent stuff. I think then when the team lineup came out and we've seen that Aberdeen, there was no Ramirez from the start, no Brown, no Ferguson, no McCrory, it kind of lifted up a wee bit. And then obviously just as the game went on, we matched them in so many ways. I was incredibly impressed with our own performance. And I think that is what at the end of the day is the most disappointing part of it is that, we did thoroughly deserve something from the match. And yeah, it's a comical way to lose a game, but we've got to kind of learn from it. But yeah, first half, we deservedly went into the break with a lead. Obviously, Pittman should probably put us 1-0 up much earlier, but, Bruce Anderson gets his first goal of the league campaign. Very well done from him. Kind of keeping aware one of the few times that he wasn't caught offside this season so far. And delightful wee header. But yeah, from there on, I think we looked solid. We were doing very well. We were working hard as a team, We were letting Aberdeen, have the ball, but we were letting Aberdeen have the ball in, their own half. We were letting them have it 60 yards away from goal where, they would have to come up with something really special to punish us. And they just weren't kind of capable of doing that in that first half. And, I think the likes of Jason Holt had a really good game in the middle of the park who just buzzing about, winning the balls, getting every loose ball, second balls, playing it up to the wide players who could, go and cause some damage. Bruce Anderson's pace as well. Obviously, going into the second half, it was let's do more of the same. But the first goal, well, obviously, we'll talk about the second one, but the first one's avoidable as well. It doesn't seem as if Jackson Longridge is, fully expecting the ball to come to him. And it's a poor clearance. And, Teddy Jenks, to be fair, he gets a very good strike on it. But you obviously, I think you've got some kind of doubts for that one as well. Going on from there, though, I think safe to say that Aberdeen had much more of the ball. Don't think they created an awful lot that was, incredibly like challenging for us. They had a good couple of crosses and that, which I feel like we defended quite well with. We flicked a few away. There was one that Gallagher had a free header for, but ended up going, about 10 yards wide. So I was very pleased with that kind of aspect of our game, that, defensively, I think that's the main thing I've been worried about this season, but it didn't seem to be a real issue for us. And then obviously, last minute of the game, Mackenzie has basically, he just hits some hopes really. It's not really that great an angle. It's not really that great an opportunity, but you don't shoot, you don't score. And Max has had quite a horror show here and went through the back of him, and it ultimately has cost us a game. And it's just the worst way to lose a game of football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the best way to win one, and it's the worst way to lose one. Totally echo your thoughts. First half, I thought I was really, really impressed with our first half performance. I thought we were excellent, and I think we could have quite easily had 2 or 3 from the first half showing. I think for Aberdeen wise, other than that effort Hedges had from edge of the box, very little created. And we kind of touched on it watching the game yesterday. We were talking about Jack Fitzwater, and see when the game's in front of Jack, I think you can see how good a centre half he is. I feel where we've maybe questioned it is when the ball goes in behind him a little bit. And I think that's maybe something he can work on in his game. And he's still a young player. I'm sure that'll be an aspect, but I thought him and Obalai were excellent at centre half. Gave Aberdeen very little. They had a couple of opportunities down our left-hand side, but as I say, didn't create an awful lot. Pittman's chance early on, I can't believe Sportscene missed it out. Watching the highlights back earlier on, that's unbelievable chance, and Pitts has to score. Jacko's pulled off a good save in the build-up to the goal from Joe Lewis at his near post, and then it's a good delivery in. Penners does really well to keep it alive, knocking it back into the area, and that's where I think Anderson will get goals this year, playing on the edge of that kind of offside line, gambling. We haven't had a striker that gambles on things like that. And that is just, for me, that's a natural goal scorer's instinct that Anderson showed for that goal. Just getting in an area where he can pick up a scrap here or there. And he does well. He gets above Lewis and nods it over him. And I'm sure he would have, I think Anderson played like he had a point to prove against Aberdeen yesterday. I thought he was brilliant. And I think the service we gave Anderson was ideal, putting him in down the channels, getting him running, trying to pull Considine and Gallagher out of position, pull them into wide areas where they don't want to be. I think we did that really well. Second half, I think Aberdeen did up the tempo a little bit, but you don't want to concede a goal right after half-time. Changes the game quite a bit. And the goal, you're right, I think Jacko's he's not expecting the ball to land at his feet. And I think it actually looks like he slips as well when he goes to clear it. But still, he has to do better. And my other question mark would be Forrest. I think Forrest is standing off Jenks on the edge of the box, standing 2 or 3 yards to the side of him. I think if he's a bit tighter to him, there's no effort in goal. And I also think Max needs to do better for it. He's got 2 good hands on it. It's a good strike, don't get me wrong. He's hit the ball really well, Jenks, but I think Max could do better. I think he'll probably look at that and think that as well. And despite the lack of options we had on the bench, I think Davey made a really smart move to go 3 at the back when he put Kelly on and went with wing backs. I think that actually nullified and took the sting out of the game a little bit, personally. I think that worked in our favour, and I think we got a foothold in the game again. Obalai's had one cleared off the line. Jack Hamilton's had a really good chance. Holt's had one when he's got in behind and tried to pull it across goal. So we were still creating opportunities in the second half, but that... I can't even describe how gutted I was when that one went in, because there's no way to get around it. It's a goalkeeping error, and the sad thing for a goalkeeper is when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's typically a goal, and there's nobody there to cover his back when they make a mistake typically, and it's a horrible way to lose a game. And I believe the press were asking to speak to Max after the game, which just shows the lack of, I'm sure a goalkeeper wouldn't want to be speaking to the press after that. But God, really, I feel bad for Max, but he'll know it's a mistake. He's no daft. He'll know it's a mistake, but he's a young goalkeeper. I'm sure he'll bounce back from it. But I think what you need to try and take from the game, absolutely gutted about the result, absolutely gutted about it. But I think we talked about it in the build-up that game would have given us a better eye of where we're at this season. And I think if we can play like that most weeks, we'll be fine. I genuinely believe that. I was really impressed with how we played yesterday.
I've got to completely agree with you there. Playing against Aberdeen, although a depleted Aberdeen side, we did match them in all areas of the park, I would say. And yeah, playing against probably, take out the Old Firm, the 9 other teams in the league, I'd be confident that we could take points off of probably like most of them, to be honest. And that includes probably playing Aberdeen again. Like, so going into like this game, you know, obviously last weekend against Rangers, it was kind of like we knew what was going to really happen there, but feeling a lot much better about this season coming up now. The defence, as I already mentioned, was maybe one of the main concerns. Maybe we could do a wee bit more cover still in there, but yeah, Oblai, Fitzwater seemed to be doing very well. And that midfield as well, that was one of the areas I was concerned about, that we'd maybe get a wee bit kind of overran or like outplayed in. I thought Pittman, Holt and Penrice were working tirelessly. They didn't have the chance to be basically subbed off to anything either, so you really showed like how much they put out on that pitch as well.
Just to touch on Penrice, we'd actually discussed Penners during the game, how most of these games so far this season he's actually played a bit further forward in the front three. And I think both of us kind of thought he actually looked a bit more settled and a bit more accomplished playing in that midfield three on the left-hand side of it as well, didn't we?
Yeah, of course. I think if you're naturally kind of like a defender or a left-back, it's quite a big jump going from there to, you know, playing as like, not even just like a left mid, but like a left winger, as in like playing right off the striker. It does seem a lot more comfortable, you know, kind of having the game in front of him, and he can go and run into like areas and that to make an impact, rather than, you know, being one of the highest players up the park and, you know, trying to make like opportunities happen from there. But yeah, very impressive him again. And then obviously Jack Hamilton and Gavin Riley both came on to, you know, be a front two, and I think Hamilton showed plenty of promise. You know, he was up against Gallagher and Considine, and how many aerial duels he won, how many ones that he, you know, managed to get with wee flick-ons or just made it uncomfortable. I was really impressed. And yeah, Riley, for somebody who's been in for so long, I was glad to see him back, and he looked pretty sharp, in all honesty. I think as well for us, we can kind of see that we're still lacking a wee bit of fitness, but yeah, as far as the season goes on, I'm happy with this kind of squad of players right now, and hopefully we can get up and running maybe, well, this weekend obviously with St Mirren, but the week after against Motherwell as well.
Yeah, I think you touched on the lack of options on the bench. Obviously, we were down to 5 subs, 2 of which were centre-halves essentially, and then the other 2 were centre-forwards and a goalkeeper. We've seen someone depart the club during the week, which came a wee bit unexpected, I think, to most of the supporters, which was Josh Mullen going along to Hamilton Accies. What were your instant thoughts on that one, Angus?
Couldn't believe it, in all honesty. I was stunned, just because obviously how big a player Josh was last season. Obviously being brought back in, obviously just signed a new kind of contract extension. I was quite baffled, in all honesty. Obviously he's made kind of like personal issues and that he's made it kind of clear that he wants to be kind of playing football and maybe a wee bit closer to home as well, which, you know, I guess that's more than reasonable enough. Hopefully he can go there for this like half a season. If he's doing well enough and he feels comfortable to come back to the club, then we can recall him in January if need be. But I did think it was quite a strange one. I think it could have maybe could have waited until after the weekend, considering we had not many subs for ourselves this weekend. Maybe if like he'd played like a wee short bit in the game and then we'd done it like this week coming. Yeah, I feel like I shared the same sentiment as most fans. It was just kind of like where on earth is that came from? But, you know, hopefully he does well, and hopefully it's not the last time we've seen him in a Livy shirt.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about our 11s that we were probably having. I think all of us had Josh in our starting 11s last week. I believe what Davey said, Josh is asked to go. If that's the case, what's the point in keeping a player against his will? If he's asked to go out and play games over at Hamilton, that's, for me, it's the right thing to do. Get him out on loan. I know Josh's wee one, I think, arrived during the summer, so I think that's why he missed the trip over to Spain. And then he's obviously had COVID as well, so he's not really had a pre-season. He's probably about, I think Davey said that he's probably about 5-6 weeks behind the rest of the squad. So it's probably in Josh's best interest to go and get fit and play games. You know, I think there's so much competition for places in our squad just now that he's maybe not a nailed-on starter, and that's just the reality of it. I think it shows that we've still got hopes that Josh will come back to the club. He has a 2-year deal. He's got an option to be recalled in January, so it's. I like to think that it's not the end of Josh in a Livy shirt, because I know he's a massive fan's favourite and he's been excellent for the club as well. But I think there's quite a few fans want to read in between the lines. They want to try and create something that's happened. But I think, having spoke to Josh before, him and Davy get on like a house on fire. They have a very, very good relationship. So I highly doubt that that's deteriorated so drastically. And having spoke to Davy as well during the week, for those who don't know, we had an interview with Davy. So give it a listen if you haven't already. It's you'll not find a Premiership manager that gives you the insight that Davy does. He'll tell you that. But I think Davy's very honest, so I'm pretty sure that's the story that Davy's told us. But wish Josh the best of luck over at Hamilton Accies. But I agree with you to an extent. Maybe if we could have maybe had him for the weekend, but let's be honest, how big a difference would it have made to the final result? What difference is Josh going to have made to those 2 goals, for example? So we've kind of touched on it already, but there's been a bit of doom and gloom about the club. But do you reckon that's going to get supporters back on side? They've seen a very good performance against what's an Aberdeen team that will be pushing for European football this year. Do you reckon that will get the fans back on side and give them a bit more hope going into the rest of the season?
I mean, I would certainly hope so, because the performance definitely is worthy of it. Obviously, there's a large contingent of our support who you will find kind of issues regarding anything, when that's just how it is sometimes. But if you can't see the efforts that was put in yesterday, can't see what they were trying to do, can't see that, we were that close, you can't see that we competed, we can't see just everything that went into that game yesterday, then I guess football's just not for you if that's not a thing that you're not going to be kind of encouraged by. Yeah, sure, maybe the goalkeeping isn't something that's not going to be, people are going to kind of pick up on now, but you just got to support the team. We'll bounce back from this, and if we play like that, if we support the team like that again, then who knows what will happen. I mean, we're playing St Mirren, big game. Yeah, let's go and do the same, and let's see where it takes us. After a long wait of 16 months, our women's side have finally got back to competitive action. It was a successful start to their league campaign with a comfortable 3-0 victory over Edinburgh Caledonia. We all made it down to the game. It was good to see the women's team back in action, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant to see them back in action. I managed to get down to their first kind of handful of league games last March when they got going, and they looked very promising and looked like they'd be competing at the top end of the league kind of for promotion. And they've fallen into that bracket, unfortunately, over the last 16, 17 months of not being elite sports people, so they've not been allowed to play games. And I know they've been training on and off over the last 18 months, but it's fantastic that they're back in action. I know you were down at the friendly during the week against their United, Angus, and you're going to be doing a bit of coverage for the Courier as well for them, which is great, obviously, for your background, getting a bit more exposure and stuff. But it was good to see them back in action. Obviously, there's still a few familiar faces from last year. I've seen that Rachel Walkinshaw's back from Hearts, which is really good. Player with a lot of experience. I know Rachel quite well myself, and coached her and worked with her at Spartans. And the girl that you interviewed during the work, is it Jen Dodds?
Yeah.
That you spoke to during the week. Was really impressed with her as well. I thought she had a really good game. And Jess Murphy at the back, I think, signed fairly recently as well. Absolute solid centre half. Not afraid of a tackle. But to actually talk about the game, I think it was a bit of a slow start. It was a bit scrappy to start with, which you can kind of half expect. It's been a wee while since they've been playing. I know they've had a few friendlies, etc., but had a couple of kind of half chances, breakaways. Edinburgh Cali had a chance. Keepers made a fantastic save, tipped it round the post. And then I think from half hour onwards, really got into our stride. Vicky Wood obviously scored the first goal, really well taken. Fair play to the Edinburgh Cali keeper. She's pulled off a couple of really good stops in the build up to that, but Vicky's taken the goal really well. I think probably just edged it first half and deserved to be going in at 1-0 at half time. But I think second half we really got into our stride, created plenty of chances. I think goalkeeper was fantastic, as I say, for Edinburgh Cali. Made another 4 or 5 fantastic saves second half. Managed to get the second goal, and then, as I say, the third goal was brilliantly taken by Jen Dodds. Great wee turn, managed to beat a couple of players in the box and tuck it in the corner. But it was a really good display, and it's a good way to kick off the season. I'm sure that will give them confidence going into the next few games.
I completely kind of agree with you. Yeah, that first half, I think it just had kind of elements of, just kind of feeling each other out, really. That's that kind of first game of the season, and just kind of like not wanting to overly gamble, but not like leave yourself exposed either. But yeah, I did think that in the first half they did enough to, you know, to kind of control the game and go in with a deserved lead. I mean, the Edinburgh Caledonia keeper, you know, made some cracking saves, but also Charlotte Ferguson and our goal as well. That one that she tips around the post is very, very crucial in the grand scheme of things. If they go 1-0 down, who knows what kind of happens there. But yeah, very, very impressed by the Livingston's women's team again. Very much a similar performance to the game against Ayr during the week there. The first half was, you know, probably more even, but in the second half, you could just see, you know, that extra kind of quality kind of like seeping through. We mentioned Rachel Walkinshaw. She's probably one that, like, considering both the games that were on at Almondvale this weekend, probably one of the best centre mids that was on show. Very, very classy player. You just see straight away, just gets the ball and looks to get up. And yeah, you already mentioned Jess Murphy, who was absolutely tremendous at the back. It was just kind of, we were trying to figure out what was kind of being played. It seemed as if it was a sort of a 3-5-2, but the like middle centre back seemed to be, you know, kind of on her own at times, and it became very clear as to why that was, is because she was so reliable. Everything that came to her, headed it. Everything that she came near her, booted it away. Also can play a bit as well. Like, you know, very, very impressive performance for her. I know it's a 3-0 victory, but I'd probably say for her as, you know, our man of the match, in all honesty, just because it was such a complete performance. It was such a settled performance, especially with vice captain Fee Boslam missing as well. A very experienced player. So, you know, for Jess Murphy to step up like that was, you know, very, very impressive. Obviously, Jen Dodds' last goal as well, just oozes absolute class. Ball comes into her, absolute tremendous turn, runs basically halfway of the pitch, cuts back on her right foot and scores. Very, very deserved goal from her. But yeah, obviously I mentioned about Vicky as well. Real captain's performance, spoke to her after the game as well. And basically she said that she feels that they can still do a lot better, which is, you know, kind of great to hear. She was obviously buzzing for everybody involved with the victory and that. And yeah, hopefully we have more performances like that and we'll see, you know, plenty of goals and plenty more victories from them.
Yeah, for those who aren't quite aware, so the setup with the league that they're in, I think they're in the south section in the championship. So top in their section gets automatically promoted, and then second place goes into a playoff with the north section for promotion to SWPL 2, I believe. So I think it's been set out. I think Paul Giaconelli, who's kind of head coach, had set it out during the week that they're aiming for promotion. They want to be competing at the top end of the league, but I think there's a lot of players that are still there from when we started off last year, and they've kind of stepped down from like an SWPL 2 team or kind of Spartans age group teams and things like that. So players that are coming from a higher level coming to play at Livy, I think will stand us in good stead this season and should see us, as I say, competing at that top end of the league.
So next weekend, Livy will be playing Stenhouse Fair. I believe it's away. But yeah, how do you see that one going, Euan? I mean, it's kind of hard for us to talk about teams that, you know, we've probably not seen before, but would you just be expecting for more of the same from our lassies?
Yeah, much the same. As I say, watched most of the games kind of before a halt put to things last year because of COVID. So we're scoring plenty of goals, creating plenty of chances, and it was the same again yesterday. As I say, could have easily been 5 or 6 quite comfortably, and deservedly so, especially in the second half display. I think could maybe, if they can start a wee bit quicker, as I say, try and get a foothold of the game a wee bit earlier, it should settle them in a little bit more and hopefully create a few opportunities and put Stenny to the sword. But as I say, I expect not putting too much pressure on the girls. Don't want it coming across like that, but I expect the girls to be, as I say, competing at the top end, and I'm sure it'll be a tough game away at Oakview, but hopefully a few folk can make the trip over there and give the girls some support, because it was great yesterday to see quite a few folk down before the Aberdeen game yesterday cheering the girls on. It'll be good to see them being successful in the park, as I say, this year as well. So I think I'll try and nip along to Oakview. It's fairly close to myself in Falkirk, so I'll try and get along the road to watch the girls next week as well. It's a break from league action as we take on St Mirren at the Spaghetti Head in the Premier Sports Cup. How are we feeling ahead of this one, Angus? Obviously, it's another opportunity to reach a cup quarter final.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about it now based on that performance just there. Hopefully we have a couple more bodies coming back. Don't think St Mirren are a team that we should overly fear, in all honesty. Obviously, they've played 2 games so far. They've picked up 1 point. They drew with Dundee, I believe, on the opening day, lost to Hearts. The thing with St Mirren that I kind of seen for most of last season is that they're, very solid. But, that's 4 goals conceded in the 2 games. I know we've conceded 5, but we've played Rangers and Aberdeen compared to, Dundee and Hearts. I don't think they're necessarily as solid as, they probably should be. But yeah, I think we should go there with good confidence that we can pick up another victory. Well, we're playing at home, aren't we? So we should go and just look to progress ourselves into the cup. Obviously they'll be looking out to try and get a revenge on us for putting them out in the cup semi-final last season. But looking forward to it. I think just basically again we've just got to apply ourselves in the same way. It'll be interesting to see what kind of happens. We may have a wee bit more of the ball this time round. Yeah, I'm very, very happy with how we're leading it in this game, and I think it's just important that we get a couple more bodies just so we have a couple of options off the bench in case we do need it, especially midfield. But yeah, I'm excited to see this one. I do think it'll be a good game. I think we're kind of evenly matched sides, and again, it's just another one that we can look at and be like, right, how do we kind of rank amongst the teams this season?
Yeah, I think it's actually worked out in our favour a little bit. I think finishing second in the group, because had we gone into it seeded, I think Wraith Rovers are playing Aberdeen. So I think we've actually came out quite well, and I think it's a tie we probably would have taken had we been a seeded team. Is taking St Mirren in the next round, and I think St Mirren will look at us and think they've got a good opportunity as well. But as you say, it's a little bit of spice added to it with it being the semi-final last year. I'm sure St Mirren reached both semi-finals in the Scottish Cup and League Cup last year, so they'll want to try and go one better and reach one of the finals this year, I'm sure. I think a lot's been said about St Mirren's prospects of getting into the top 6 this year. I think there's a lot of pundits and fans alike who are expecting them to try and push for that. And some of the business they've done over the summer has been, they've signed a lot of players who are really experienced in the Premiership, like Alan Power, Greg Kiltie, Scott Tanza, Curtis Main's come in as well. Obviously, Brophy's deal's been made permanent. I think Charles Dunn as well is another one who brought in from Motherwell. So they've signed a lot of experienced players in the Premiership. And I think they will do quite well this season. Obviously, the league campaign's not got off to the greatest of starts, drawing away at Dundee and then the home defeat to Hearts as well. But I think I agree with a lot of these pundits. I do think St Mirren will do quite well this year. I have quite a lot of time for Jim Goodwin. I think he's a very good manager who's going to go far in the game, and it's going to be a tough game. Davey kind of touched on it when we spoke to him during the week, that both teams will look at that game and go, that's a good opportunity to get to another cup quarter final. And we've had quite a good record in the League Cup over the last few years of reaching at least the last 8. So home game against the team that's round about you in the league, essentially, it's a fantastic chance. But as you say, hopefully we've got a few more bodies available, which would be good. I believe there's a boy coming in, Odin Bailey, right winger on loan from Birmingham City, who played 35 games or so at Forest Green Rovers last year. So he'll be coming in. I'm sure he'll almost go straight into the squad given the injury issues that we've got just now. So that should give us another option in those wide areas. But it's difficult to predict the team for next week, Angus, given the injury problems. But is there anyone you would maybe like to see if they are going to be available? Like to see get a run out?
I guess the young lad. I guess the boy Bailey. I always like to kind of see like natural wingers out in those positions. So I think maybe Craig Sibbald could find himself a wee bit hard done by if this new boy comes in and presses. But no, in all honesty, if that starting 11 that plays just on Saturday there plays again, then I wouldn't be too disappointed by it, in all honesty. I think we were solid for most of that, and playing against Aberdeen, if they can take that level of performance in that game against St Mirren, then yeah, I'd be absolutely delighted with that. I think the main one that we're probably going to have to talk about is, who starts in goals. Do you stick with Strajek or do you bring in Barden for his second appearance in the Premier Sports Cup? Obviously, Strajek's performances in the Premier Sports Cup with the penalty shooting, that probably earned him the jersey. Obviously, a bit more experience as well. I'm absolutely just going to throw you under the bus and not answer the question myself. Who would you start in goals?
I think it's a question of man management for this decision with Davey. I think look, Max has made certainly one high-profile error in the Aberdeen game, questionable for the first goal as well. Do you drop him and just knock the boys' confidence altogether and put Barden between the sticks? Or do you show good man management and say, look, I back you as my keeper. You've done well so far this season. Keep you in between the sticks. I'm totally on the fence. I'm not going to commit either way, Angus. But personally, I think it's a good opportunity. It's a cup game to give Barden minutes and get him used to playing with the back four. Again, I'll refer to the conversation I had with Davey during the week last week. He talked about he thinks he's got two clear number one goalkeepers at the club this year in Max and Barden. So I think it's an opportunity to give Daniel a run out and see what he's got. I was quite impressed with him against Cowdenbeath. I know he didn't have a great deal to do, but I liked how he commanded his box and things like that. And that's not to say Max wasn't doing that. I think he did that really well against Aberdeen. Took a lot of pressure off the back four, coming and claiming crosses, coming out his area to pick up bits and pieces in and around the box. But as I say, it's that question of man management. If you drop Max, does it completely demoralise him after the Aberdeen game? It's a very difficult call to make, but that's why managers get paid the big bucks to make those decisions. So the other thing I would maybe say is we've kind of seen in the Premier Sports games that Davey spoke about it a lot, talking about wingers playing on the right side, so left footer on the left side, right footer on the right side. We've seen that totally reversed against Aberdeen when we had Sibbald out on the right and Forrest out on the left. Do you see that changing at all? Do you reckon that was maybe a tactical thing for the Aberdeen game, or do you maybe see that changing at all?
I think it was kind of forced for the Aberdeen game. It's not really something that I don't really take much of a kind of like a notice of, in all honesty. I mean, Alan Forrest has kind of always played as like a left-sided, right-footed kind of player, because he always wants to try and cut in, but he's also kind of decent enough at crossing with his left foot as well. Obviously, last season as well, Sibbald played more so on that right-hand side if he was pushed further forward rather than being in centre mid as well. I think it's maybe so you can have like those fullbacks making those overlapping runs without losing anything, especially, I think Jackson Longridge was getting up alongside Alan Forrest more so than Nicky Devlin was.
I think Nicky had been struggling a bit, having been isolating, to be honest. I think Nicky was fair play to him for making it through the 90 minutes against Aberdeen, because I think he was really struggling and being pushed to his limits, I think. So hopefully that 90 minutes does Nicky the world of good, and he's obviously back available for St Mirren as well.
Yeah, of course. I just kind of prefer having, people who are naturally wide, who do feel comfortable either cutting in or going down the line. That's completely fine for me. I would probably, if this boy who's coming in as a right winger, I could very much easily see him just going straight into the right wing and, keeping Forrest out on that left-hand side. But yeah, I guess Davy's got to, come up with that himself and, see what he thinks best is for the squad and for whatever game plan he chooses to go with.
Yes, yeah, it's a difficult question to ask, isn't it, about what selection's going to be put in place. I think almost that team yesterday was pretty much forced upon us. And that's not to say players didn't deserve a chance to play in the game against Aberdeen, but when you've got only 5 subs, 2 of them are centre-halves, how many centre-halves can you play in one game type thing? So I think that was all kind of forced upon us, but hopefully there's a few players back available. Well, we'll get on to predictions. I don't think me and you have ever been as gutted to have got a scoreline right than the Aberdeen game. Actually raging with myself. I got the scoreline right in the end. So we've all had a fairly decent start in the prediction front. So what are you thinking for the St Mirren game?
It's a strange one. I'll go for 1-0 Livy. I'll be positive for the first time this season, really. But yeah, I'm fairly confident we can get a win here. Hopefully I'm correct, and it's a repeat of the scoreline from the semi-final.
I'm going to be positive as well, Angus. I think both teams will score. I think it's been quite a common theme in the games at Livy. There's been quite a few kind of 2-1s in recent seasons. So I'm going to go 2-1 Livy. I fancy wee Brucey to keep his good start to the season going. I agree with Davey. I think he's going to be a big fan's favourite. I'm already a big fan of him from what I've seen. But I'm going 2-1. And it should see us it will see us into the quarterfinals of the League Cup once again.
That's it for this episode of Talk Livy. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Angus said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search Talk Livy to find us. You'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivypodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it for this episode. Thanks again for tuning in as always. Enjoy your week following the Lothian's finest football team, and come on, Livy!
Come on, Livy!
West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Amberville. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston. We love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Amberville Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the Premier Division.